धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. This is like a bombshell, right? कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते.
Hey Arjun, you have the rights to do the action, but not to the results thereof.
Yes, and this is the one-pointed concentration about performing the action, not being bogged down by what the result is going to be. Once we get bogged down with the desire, what the result is going to be,
then you freeze like you did in your pathology exam.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have got a very nice story about Chinese archer who was the champion. He won many championships, and then he was going to another archery competition, and his wife asked him that when he gets the gold medal, he wants to make some ornaments for her. So he goes there, takes part in the competition. He doesn't get the first place. He misses his mark. So he doesn't get his gold medal. And so his wife was upset. He goes to a Zen master and he asked him, when you were aiming at the bullseye, what were you thinking? He said, I thought about the bullseye and thought about the ornament for my wife. So the Zen master says, then you were thinking about two things.
Yeah.
And in Mahabharata, there is a similar story too about Arjuna looking at the bird's eye. So the point is that these intense desires towards the result diverts our attention of doing our action in the right and most efficient way.
So Amitabh, I feel that most people explain it away, the second part. It's not that second part, which is you don't have the right to the result, was not meant in that fashion. We all explain this in this way, but when Krishna says that, it's a matter of fact that you have the right to do your karma. The result is affected by many factors. It's not just your action that determines the result.
That is true.
So it's not about, yes, many people will say, this is what it means, this is what you should or should not do. But I think it's a matter of fact. And for me, many people also say, do your karma, do your action, don't worry about the result. This does not say that don't worry about the result. So it does not say don't worry about the result. It also, to me, it doesn't mean that it was said with the intention that if you focus on result, you will not focus on karma. And that's true. Although that's true, but that's not the reason why Krishna says that. In my mind, he says it. And we have this 5 pillars of success in 18th chapter, in which Krishna talks about different factors that affect the result, which also includes, I call the 5th factor, which is daivam. So after everything you do, this daivam also affects your result. And even in case of daivam, you can do something about it. So if you look at Mahabharata, and if you look at what Krishna has done, for winning the war, he has used all the tricks, all the 5 pillars has been used. So in a way, it means that do your karma, take care of other factors, and even then you cannot guarantee that this will be the result. So this is my thought process on this verse. And that's why I think this verse is probably the most misunderstood verse in my mind, in the universe, because people try to explain it away by something simple. But I think it's a very comprehensive verse that takes care of many factors in this one part of the verse. If just the first half, कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु kada ma karma phal hetur bhur mate sangostva karmani. So he does say that do it without attachment. But I think this is a huge verse that determines a lot of our life, of how we work.
Yeah, my thought is something like that too. This, I mean, doing an action or doing a duty is not with passivity.
Right.
It is not passivity. Okay. Yeah. It is very actively doing the work or the duty with one pointed concentration. Okay. And not getting diverted. Now, there are many things. Your result may be positive or negative. Yeah. There are certain things we have got control and we do not have control. But that doesn't mean that our effort should be less. Okay. It is not an inertia. It is very, very active participation in performing a duty or an action. Okay. Realizing fully well that the results may not be in our favor.
To our liking.
Yep. And often I talked with you about the same thing as a karmic triangle.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we discussed about that in.
Yeah, but now that you have mentioned the word, explain it for people who are listening.
Yeah. Well, karmic triangle is very simple. That to perform an action right, the doer has to be in perfect shape. Okay. Perfect mental status. Okay. His instruments are the objects with which he is going to perform the action or the duty has to be perfect or close to perfect, because these two are under his or her control. Yeah. And then there are external factors. With our best effort, we can control some of the external factors, but some other external factors are not under our control. Yeah. Therefore, although we try to achieve success, a small percentage of failure is a built-in. If we neglect either of these three steps, the chance of failure increases.
I understand the three, karmic triangle, but also just for completion purposes, I would say the 5 factors that I was talking about from 18th
Yes.
chapter, which is, the platform. And Arjuna has the platform. The Mahabharata is a great platform where things are going to be decided one way or the other. Then tatha karta. Karta means the doer, the talent of the doer, the training of the doer, the status of the doer. All that factor happens. So the tools, karanam, the tools of the trade. So the superior tools will bring you better results. So somehow you have to have the tool superiority or weapon superiority. And then prithak vidham. So, that's the prithak chesta, prithak vidham. So if the diplomacy doesn't work, then, you may have to end up with a war. That's where Arjuna is. And Daivam. And Daivam is not like, leave it, it's not in your control. In Mahabharata, at least in Arjun case, Krishna asks Hanuman to sit on his chariot. So that's an external factor. They go to, Devi Ashirvad before the start of the war. So what I'm saying is that all that you can control, you should do it. And even then, the result can be different than what you expect. But I think this verse means that karma is not the only factor. rather than do your karma and forget about the result. I think you can take care of all the factors around it.
This is a verse of intense concentration, intense activity rather than passivity.
That is,
And the
yeah. And I
uh,
understand why you are saying the passivity, because if you are saying that do your action and don't worry about the result, some kind of, passivity is in that sentence itself, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. If the sentence is taken like that, literally, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
One has to. That's why when we are discussing Gita, we are discussing the concept. Our approach is towards the concept. And so I think in this verse, that is the concept.
I think this verse is a
Active participation.
great verse. I'll read the Hindi
Yes.
translation. तेरा कर्म करने में ही अधिकार है, उसके फलों में कभी नहीं। इसलिए तू कर्म के फल का हेतु मत हो, तथा तेरी कर्म न करने में भी आसक्ति न हो. So that is very important, that he's saying that, it's not like I won't do this. And that's what Arjuna has been saying, I don't want to do this.
Krishna, can you translate that Hindi part in English?
The first part is very clear that you have the right to the action, not to the result.
Yes.
The second part, so don't become entangled with the result, but also don't be attached to not doing the action. He's telling Arjun again, it's like, get up and fight. You can't say that okay, this is not for me, or I won't fight. What is it's like he's saying that you have to, you do the action. The result may not be what you want, but it's still, just because the result is not going to be unpredictable in a way, doesn't mean that you will say, okay, I'm not going to do it.
That's right. And that's what I say, that this verse does not emphasize passivity.
Yeah.
It emphasizes intense concentration, intense action.
Yeah. Get ready, be prepare yourself, take care of all the factors and go and act. I mean, and then comes it's like yogastha kur karmani sangam tektva dhananjaya siddhaya siddhayo samo bhutva samatvam yoga yuchate. This is what you are saying, samatvam.
Yep.
And that is kind of no attachment. Do it without attachment. Or you were talking about yoga, be established in yoga and then do the action without attachment.
Yes.
So this is first time I think he brings it, non-attachment, into the equation here. And we will hear more of that as we go along.
Yes. Look at 49. Dure no haya param karma.
Yeah. Why don't you read that?
Oh, well, my Sanskrit is not all that great. So
Do the English.
Okay. So basically what we were discussing, any action that is driven by desire, okay, or desire of the result, is inferior to this yogic wisdom or the one-pointedness that Krishna described. So seek that wisdom, do not get diverted. That's a very simple way of.
He's talking about sakam karma, it's like sakam karma is kind of inferior to nishkam karma.
Exactly.
Not that action.
Action with desire versus action with no desire.
Yeah.
Okay. Or action without any attachment to the result. Basically.
Or the action itself, So,
Yeah.
but Amitabh, you hear that, it's like in medicine, people advise you not to, do surgery on your own relatives or your own, close people. And the simple reason is that because you're too attached. You know,
Exactly. And that's a very good example.
yeah,
That's a very good example that when we are emotionally attached to something,
yeah,
we cannot think in a neutral fashion. We cannot have a global view.
yeah,
Okay. We cannot have the entire picture in our mind. This attachment, this emotion drives us to a wrong judgment.
yeah,
And that is the main reason we were taught that you don't operate on your relatives.
yeah,
That intense attachment diverts our decision to different direction,
yeah,
whereas our thought process get clouded by this attachment. So this understanding of attachment and non-attachment, desire or desireless state, kind of determines the success of our action.
yeah.
Okay.
So, it's like patient comes in for surgery, you're not attached, and you are there to just take care of the problem.
Yes.
The same thing, to some extent, is conflict of interest. And now every hospital, every business, you know, and it has happened, right? I mean,
Sure.
the
Sure.
drug industry, if you are working for some company, you have to declare, that you have that relationship. Because when you go and present your research or something, people know that you have that possibility, even a small possibility, that you may be biased in what you're saying. But I think, yeah, the world kind of takes note of it. They don't probably call it, they have not read Gita, but I think the whole thing comes out of this, the attachment or as you said,
Sure. You
desire.
can, you can you can see that in the researchers too.
Yeah,
Okay. They are supposed to be very, very objective, impartial,
yeah,
but sometimes they are so much attached to their own research, they want this result to be what they thought of. So therefore they try to manipulate the data according or infer the data according to their liking.
right.
And so then the whole research goes down the drain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
your
that's,
credibility. I mean, you don't want
and
to.
of course that goes. So this kind of intense emotional attachment
Yeah,
kind of diverts us from our goals or our one pointed thought process.
yeah.
So that's a very, very important point.
I think it is. Yeah. So he keeps talking about the sambuddhi, um, more of that, like a balanced mind in a way. Sambuddhi, it's like
Yes,
he has
yes,
talked earlier, in the spiritual talk, sukha dukha same kritva. Is, the happiness and sorrow can be, you have to find your middle path. Now he's talking about your buddhi, or it's still buddhi yoga because he's talking about the buddhi. So some buddhi, rather than, one extreme or the other extreme. So somewhere you will find the middle path. I mean, some people say that Buddha is the inventor of middle path. Somehow I feel Krishna talks the same language about sambuddhi, or, samatva bhav. It's very much the middle path to many.
yes. Even in the Western part of the world, which often use the word being on even keel. A boat on the even keel doesn't waver at all.
Yeah,
Okay, so it is basically the idea of samadarshi, samabhav, sthita pragyam, whatever you want to say. But the bottom line is it is the evenly balanced mind with full concentration, without any attachment, looking at being focused on how to do the action
yeah,
and how to perform the duty. So that is the state of true karma yogi,
mhm,
the yoga of karma, the yoga of action. That kind of revelation, that kind of realization we can get through our actions. And this is where Krishna is wonderful. It is in this field of action we can have that realization too, that intense concentration, which he calls samadhi in later on in one of the verses.
So this 50, verse 50, I love the word actually, but I'll read the whole shloka. Just
Sure.
buddhi yukto jahati ha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmad o yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam.
Yep.
Yoga karmasu kaushalam is just amazing word. And I know kaushalam, I translate it differently, but I feel that is the meaning, gist of it is you bring efficiency in your work. But kaushal or kushal doesn't exactly mean efficiency, as you and I talked. But somehow that's what
The only way I can translate it, efficient strategy. That's all. If we have one-pointed concentration, that stability of mind, we will find the most efficient strategy. That's all.
Oh, that's a simple one word for one word. Karma Shukosalam means efficient strategy. But whatever the exact meaning it, but this you do become, it's like at your best, the karma at its best. I mean, the result will be, yes, even if you don't worry about the result will be in your favor. Kind of that's what it implies, that yes.
Yeah, the result, if we put all our effort, all our intellect, all our intense concentration, the probability of success is much higher.
Right.
That's all.
It's unpredictable, but still the highest probability.
That's right.
Getting the result done. Yeah. So that is a yoga karma shukosalam. I keep repeating it, so that people can hear it more than once. And then, of course, he goes on to talk about, yadate moha kalilam. Once you get beyond this moh, that Arjuna is, it's like showered with that attachment in the beginning. Once you get out of it and you are non-attached and you are focused, your buddhi is now established in yourself. Tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya sutasya cha. इस भांति भांति के वचनों को सुनने से विचलित हुई तेरी बुद्धि जब परमात्मा में अचल और स्थिर ठहर जाएगी, तब तू योग को प्राप्त हो जाएगा, अर्थात तेरा परमात्मा से नित्य संयोग हो जाएगा. This is beyond, it's mind-boggling. What he's saying is that Shruti Viprati Pannate. You are listening to all these noises, all these different things. And if that goes into, establishes in your buddhi gets established in yourself, yada stasyati nishala samadha vachala buddhis tada yogamavapyasi. That is the word you are saying, samadha vachala.
When your mind is released from these dense delusions, you shall realize how improper all that you have learned so far have been. When your mind is fixed and unmoved and not confused by scriptural injunctions, you shall attain the yogic samadhi.
No, samadha vachala. Of course, the English or Hindi translation doesn't do the real meaning of it,
Yes.
But basically, this is the kind of the beginning where Arjuna is going to ask, this is the stage of Isthita Pragya. Basically, this is the description of that. And that's why Arjuna asked the next question about how
My understanding of this verse is that when you see so many viewpoints, okay, about a particular event or a particular thing, okay, if we are not fully concentrated on the achievement or focus, okay, then our mind goes all over, bahushaka, okay. But when we are all focused with intense concentration, then we know those things are just noises, okay. Now this is our job to do. And
Yeah.
this is the status of what is called Sthita Pragya. That's it. Sthita Pragya, which is based on the inner knowledge.
Yeah.
Being on
Like,
inner knowledge.
you know, in the English, the word used is fixed, but it's basically you are established within yourself. Your buddhi is established,
That's
like grounded
that's right.
completely. And that is, you know, it's a very hard thing to describe, but, you know, it's like everything is happening around you. I mean, noises are not going to go away. You know, the sun is there, the moon is there, the water is there, the house is there. Everything is around you, but you are kind of now established in yourself.
Yeah. And
And
although you are
kind of watching everything move around, but not
although although
stirred
we
by.
are although we are in the middle of commotions,
Yeah.
okay, our mind is still focused. And this is what is meant by inaction in action. From outside, it looks like that you are not doing anything, but you're mentally, you are so focused, okay, all these noises fall away.
Yeah, they're there. They're just there circulating around you.
Yep,
And that
that's
is
all.
when, and now, you know, it's like, I think this is a good one. And this is where we are going to end today. Karmanyavadhikaraste mafaleshu kadachana.
कर्मण्यवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन कर्मण्यवाधिकारस्ते